if you book one, you got to ask the question, could anything go wrong?
Mm.
Well, unfortunately, things can go wrong, including some nasty viruses. The Centers for Disease Control saying there have been 19 outbreaks of gastrointestinal illnesses so far this year. That's already more than we saw all of last year. And that includes, oh gosh, norovirus, an outbreak that made 70 people sick on a Royal Caribbean cruise just this month. Joining us now, USA Today consumer travel reporter Nathan Diller is with us on dry land, I assume. Nathan, thanks for being here this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So walk us through what happens if there's an outbreak on board a ship during your cruise. Does the ship head to port? Do passengers get their money back? How does this play out?
Yeah, so cruise ships have really robust response plans in place for these kinds of things. They've developed these with public health authorities in various countries, including the CDC. So you'll see them isolating the sick guests and crew. You might see passengers I've spoken to in the past have said they see additional hand sanitizer stations popping up and maybe single-use items disappearing from tables. They're going to try to reduce high-touch surfaces as much as possible, but they do have the plans in place for when these things happen.
When reporting on this, you often hear about some of the nasty details of some of these outbreaks. How well equipped are ships to deal with these outbreaks?
Yeah, all major cruise ships tend to have medical centers on board, so they do have medical personnel sailing with them. And so if you really are not feeling well, you can go down to the medical center. If you're isolated in your cabin, they have protocol for kind of getting you the medical care that you need. So they are really well equipped to deal with these. And you typically wouldn't see it interrupt a cruise or cause a major disruption unless it was a really massive outbreak. They tend to try to contain them as quickly as possible. And the reason that we know about them is because they do have these rigorous reporting requirements to the CDC, and they're giving this information willingly over there. So we know when these things happen as well.
We've been talking about the government shutdown this morning, Nathan. Does the shutdown impact cruise lines, cruise ships, and how they can move about at all?
Yeah, good news for cruise passengers. Generally speaking, no. As Bobby mentioned earlier in the show, TSA and Customs and Border Protection tend to be considered essential workers. So those workers will still be showing up, and core port services should continue as planned. One area you may see impacts is if you are taking a cruise to somewhere in the US and you want to go visit a national park as part of that sailing. Some of those federal properties that are popular with tourists may see impacts. They may be closed, but generally speaking, the cruise portion of your trip should go undisrupted.
Just like life on land, though, anything can happen. What other emergencies can impact or even cancel your cruise?
Yes, some of the ones that we tend to see, the most in the news are things like man overboard incidents. We definitely see those. Hurricanes can kind of disrupt or cause flooding on occasion with cruises. They have plans for all of these types of incidents in place. In the case of overboard incidents, they do have really robust response plans for those, and some ships even have overboard detection systems that can tell ships as soon as something or someone goes overboard, so that they can respond right away. In the case of hurricanes, they're planning these itineraries well in advance, and they do build in backup plans. If they know that there's going to be bad weather in a certain part of the Caribbean, for instance, they'll try to reroute away from that, so they just minimize the risk of any disruption to the trip. And so you do see some incidents, but generally speaking, they have a handle on how to keep things moving.
Okay, Nathan Diller, USA Today consumer and travel reporter. Thank you very much.